Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are the Mirror's chief football writer, John Cross, and the Sun's football editor, Charlie Wyatt. Welcome to you both, gents. We'll hear from you shortly after we've run through the back pages as we have them so far. So, The Guardian, a splash with super subs seal progress after scare. Yeah, Liverpool 4 Barnsley won the final score at Anfield, but it wasn't really the story of the game. There's also news from Old Trafford. Mission impossible. United to offer Carrick transfer funds as new interim manager. And the big transfer news, heading back, Spurs agree Gallagher fee. Yes, Conor Gallagher to return to English shores. What about the Express? They lead with Carrick. Their headline reads, Stars align for Carrick. Plus the FA Cup win for Liverpool there. Strong Reds get it dom in the end. Macclesfield's Premier League draw for the fourth round is featured. Mac Plan B's sting. Yes, they face Brentford at home after getting rid of the holders, Crystal Palace. In the Eye, Szoboszlai's prayers are answered, and why United are going for Carrick over Solskjaer. Plus, Arteta fans a tactical ally in Rosenior ahead of Chelsea against Arsenal. Onto the Telegraph, who lead with Michael Carrick beating Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to the interim job at Manchester United. So Carrick sees off Solskjaer. Szoboszlai at peace after cup clanger. And Tottenham hijack Villa's Gallagher move. Yes, that's the big bit of transfer news. And in John's paper, The Mirror, we don't want Ole on the battle to be the man who replaces Ruben Amorim, for the time being at least. Trafford starts, but could exit. Reds relief after Boz blunder, and Max get a buzz with B's draw. And in the Sun, Cop Winners' Cup serves up Mac and B's. Yeah, I like that. And that's the spirit. Rue backs Carrick to lift United. Yes, Wayne Rooney with some very interesting comments about the man that he was recently away on holiday with. Welcome once again to all of you at home. Welcome to John and to Charlie. John, we're going to start off with your paper as we discuss the ongoing developing situation as per the manager's job at Old Trafford. So let's get to this bit first. We don't want Ole. So it seems like Michael Carrick now is in the box seat. Just need to agree a last few things, dot the I's, cross the T's, and he should be the interim manager till the end of the season. Is it the right call?
Well, I must say, I think it's a bit of a gamble. This story is essentially saying that Solskjaer and Carrick were really in the frame, both interviewed, but actually the United hierarchy took a decision, this story says, to go down the Carrick path after senior players approached the hierarchy and said, we don't want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. How can you not like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as your interim boss? He's done that job before, of course. And look, the players, I don't know quite how strong a ground they're on at the moment, because they're not exactly performing well enough to earn much credit in the bank to sort of have a say there. But United clearly going in the direction of Carrick. It is an interesting take on it. They clearly wanted a former player. This really sort of kind of rhymes with what Wayne Rooney is saying, isn't it, as well? He wants Rooney is making it clear that United are doing the right thing by getting someone to understand the club. I know that Carrick is really well thought of, did a good job at Middlesbrough, obviously had a fantastic playing career at United, is well thought of in coaching circles. Vibrant young coach trying to sort of kind of push forward. And look, I think it's a decent choice. It still surprises me that United are not acting sooner. It feels like if it goes wrong, and it is a bit of a gamble, let's be clear here, well, they've written off another season, frankly. So I think it's a gamble, but I actually think going for Carrick is a more obvious and I think a better choice than Solskjaer, because honestly, you can't. In my view, he couldn't have gone back to Solskjaer, having dispensed with his services relatively recently, because it wasn't working under Solskjaer. It made no sense at all.
That said, I suppose if you're going to look at the managers that there's been since Alex Ferguson, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's probably played the football that's been closest to what we saw under the great man for 2.5 decades at United. Express, stars align for Carrick. Michael, is United's chosen one after players snub Ole. So in Jeremy Cross's piece here, it's understood the players made it clear they had little confidence in Solskjaer and wanted Carrick to lead them for the remainder of the season. Charlie, what's your take on this? And, what do the two sort of offer in comparison to each other? Michael Carrick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, well, I think, Solskjaer, I agree with John. The fact that he was there before and it ended, in a not particularly great way. So I think Carrick would be the right decision. As John says, it is a gamble, but I quite frankly quite excited by it. It's good to see. I love to see Rosina at Chelsea as well. It's just nice to see English managers get a chance for a change at a big club. Of course, it's a huge task for Carrick. He did well at Middlesbrough, but it sort of tailed off a bit. Finished 10th last season. Lost four. I think they lost 4 out of 6. So I think I'm not even sure Steve Gibson really wanted to sack him, but he had no choice. So I think Carrick has still got a huge amount of potential. And yeah, it is. The only thing I'd say where I disagree with Rooney is it's all very well saying, a player understands the club or the manager understands the club. I think that's important, but I don't think you necessarily have to play for that club. If Carlo Ancelotti was available tomorrow, I'd appoint him. He's not played for Man United before, but he'd be the best candidate. But I think, at this moment in time with sort of United treading water, I think Carrick is the best option.
Yeah, I mean, this is the story here in your paper, Charlie. I want to get your thoughts on it, John, and what Wayne Rooney said. I mean, I suppose in kind of paper parlance, it would be almost a come and get me plea, even though he's saying he's not begging a job here. What did you make of it? And can you see this axis on the touchline, Carrick and Rooney?
I can't really. I must say, I do think that Carrick is that choice, isn't he? Because he's a former player. And Rooney absolutely made it clear, didn't he, in his podcast that basically I'm not going for the job here. Let's not forget here that Carrick had sort of kind of, I think Jonathan Woodgate on staff before, didn't he? And he's been sort of kind of linked a little bit to be on his coaching staff. But I do think it's interesting what Rooney says, because he says there, having people who know the club, who care for the club and understand what it takes to be a Man United player, that's where the club needs to be. The club has lost its identity. It's lost that family feel. This is an opportunity to bring that back. Bring back the spirit of Manchester United. I mean, I agree with him on the one hand, but I also think by just going with, sometimes people that they know can also make it too cosy. Haven't we gone beyond kind of the family club of Manchester United? This is an absolute global monster. And a lot of fans will say, well, actually, you need the spirit and the family spirit back. But I do think we've gone beyond those days, really. Like Charlie, I think it's good that Carrick is given the opportunity as a bright young manager. I hope that Rooney will return. I do think he's making a good name for himself right now as a pundit, and he's quite outspoken. I like that, and he resonates with what he says. But I don't like this, where the players can sort of almost pick and choose who they want as manager. Because honestly, what would a player do? Well, he'll pick the best option for him. And I'm sorry, but that often means then that they become comfortable and they choose a manager that they think will pick them, that they think will like them. And I just think, no, take yourself out the comfort zone. That's what they should do. So often in football, we do have links with former players, with former captains, with former leaders going in as managers. And it can work because they know the identity of the club. But I'm not sure, really, that Carrick is being seen at this point in time as the long-term option. So I guess it's only a sort of a short stay. But really, in the longer term, I think United need a manager of absolutely the highest quality to get them back to where they should be. And it's obviously being written in many places here that United still see, even though they're hovering, still to see that this season is an opportunity to get back in the Champions League. Too right they should, because honestly, they haven't got this distraction of cups. More's a pity. But then they've got lots of games and lots of opportunities to get back in the Champions League. It's very, very attainable, I think, for United this season.
Do you know what? I read something about this being the Manchester United season with like the fewest games since, the 1910s, basically, because they've gone out so early in the Cups. Yeah, well over 100 years. Interesting, though, whether it's short or long term, it appears the Guardian thinks that he might well be backed a little bit in the transfer market. So in the Guardian, Mission Impossible, United to offer Carrick transfer funds as new interim manager. And a name that seems to have popped up in Jamie Jackson's article, Charlie, is Ruben Neves, who's currently at Al Hilal. Can you see that one to add to the sort of Lusophone, the Portuguese-speaking contingent there at Manchester United with Cunha and Bruno Fernandes?
I mean, maybe he wouldn't be the worst signing. I mean, I think they need to do some financial juggling. I don't think there's that much money kicking about. And as we know, lots of talk has been about players that they're going to have to maybe offload, Kobe Mainoo being one of them. But I'm sure, without doubt, if Michael Carrick goes back to the club, Mainoo will really have high hopes of sort of kick-starting his United career, which has been tailing off a bit, hasn't it? So I think generally, even if there's one or two players going in, I think Carrick's going to have to work with what they've got. He's really going to have to use his man management skills, which he impressed really when he was at Middlesbrough. But it's a huge task. But as John says, the fact is they've got nothing else to worry about. No other tournaments to compete in is a huge advantage, and that is why they do still have a sort of a half decent chance of getting in the top 5 in the Champions League place. Or fifth should be getting Champions League place, shouldn't it? So
yeah. Okay, from a player who will be returning to a former club to a player who is leaving a former club, and that is Xabi Alonso. Back page of the Times in Tom Allnutt's piece, Real Madrid sack Alonso. Mutual agreement, it says, in inverted commas, as that's what the statement says. We know it's often not quite that. John, what do you think of this one? Because, it's only been 8 months and they're only 4 points off Barca. Yes, they did lose the Super Copa. Does it feel a bit knee-jerk to you?
Yeah, it does. I actually watched that game last night and I've forgotten it was in Jeddah. That's the story of my Sunday night, David. But I must say, I do follow it and basically take a great interest in it. I'm surprised he had a real dip a few weeks ago, Alonso, where basically I think, going into the sort of City game, there's a lot of mood music around it, and basically saying that he was really on the brink and very close. He seemed to have weathered that storm a little bit, got some results, but the performance wasn't the worst in the world, and you're basing it on a cup final. But let's be honest, I think the rest of it is basically is the issue here. They've got to be back competing for La Liga. They've got to be trying to wrestle back the title. They've got to be challenging, I think, in their eyes, for the Champions League. And it feels quite sort of clunky under Alonso. I'm not sure whether it's really worked for him, and making sure that they really sparkle and sing and basically really entertain. It's very much a sort of a kind of a tactical process. That is what Alonso's about. He's very much a kind of almost, from the, I don't know, it's controlled, it's control, and it's a bit like it's Arteta, it's Guardiola, and I'm not sure sometimes. I think Real Madrid should be about flair, and I think that's part of it as well. And I just feel, I think it's quite interesting actually, because I do think he will inevitably be linked with a few Premier League opportunities, because no doubt about it, he remains a very good tactician, he remains a very good coach, very highly thought of, and you have to say, I imagine that there'll be a few Premier League clubs looking and seeing he's suddenly available after this time. It's
been a mad start to the year, isn't it, with the likes of Manchester United, Chelsea and Real Madrid all deciding to make a change. If he were to return to the Premier League, Charlie, where do you think he would be a good fit? I mean, I suppose there's one obvious answer, but are there other ones that you think could also fit?
Well, you got to look at Tottenham at the moment. With Thomas Frank, that's not particularly steady, is it? So that'd be one. But I mean, who knows? Over the next couple of months, there could be some changes made, or. But it's an interesting one with Alonso. It looks as though he lost the players a bit, and it also goes back to when Vinicius Junior sort of stormed off down the tunnel, and so I think there's probably stuff going on behind the scenes there that will come out. So I think some clubs will take an interest, like in England, on how that ended in Spain and why it ended, and why Alonso wasn't able to get that team to really sort of play in his style of play, really. I think that's the fundamental problem. But there's no doubt we're going to end up seeing him in the Premier League in the next year, I'd say.
OK, thank you for the moment, gents. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers, including this in The Telegraph. Tottenham hijack Villa's Gallagher move. We're back in a couple of minutes. You're watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back to the Mirror's chief football writer John Cross and the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt. OK, we're going to crack through quite a few stories in the second part of the show. Let's start off with the final FA Cup third round tie of the weekend. It finished Liverpool 4, Barnsley 1 at Anfield. In the Times, you can see their new boys make Liverpool safe because the scoreline doesn't tell the whole story, and it was Jeremy Frimpong, Florian Wirtz and Ugo Ekitike who scored goals 2, 3 and 4. Charlie, what was your take on this game? I mean, comfortable scoreline, but not comfortable game.
Cracking game to watch. As you say, if you hadn't seen that game, you just look at the scoreline and think, well, I expected that. But Barnsley did, really well. Could have got a penalty as well, towards the end, but really made Liverpool sweat. Even with 15 minutes to go, it was a really good cup tie. Szoboszlai completely lost the plot by gifting them a goal before half-time. And, it was just yet another really good cup tie. It's been an incredible weekend, hasn't it? Fantastic matches every single day. And it just proves that even Barnsley, where they are in League One, can go to Anfield and think they can have a go and think they can win. And maybe that tells you where Liverpool are at the moment. And I don't think Slot seemed totally happy at the end of the match.
Szoboszlai's error was really uncharacteristic for one of the most dependable and impressive players that Liverpool have had, a very consistent performer this season. But I just want to focus on the new boys. Do you feel, John, that things are now starting to gel? I mean, Ekitike's been at it since the start, but Wirtz showed a little bit more about what he's about tonight, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I guess you've got to take in the opposition into consideration. But I've always been a Wirtz fan, really. I do think he's such a talented player and he's got a lovely skill set. There's been a few players, haven't there? Basically, he's certainly not by no means the only guilty one that basically have taken time to settle this season. And I also think it's worth keeping in mind that basically he's going into a Liverpool team that has had to restructure how they play in formation and tactics, basically, to accommodate him. So I do think it's completely changed. It's a very strange, odd season for all manner of reasons at Liverpool. But I do think we are seeing a bit more of a confidence in his play, and that's key. I think Ekitike has been such a big miss for the last couple of games, isn't he, for them? So even him coming on gave him a bit of a buzz. But I do like Wirtz. I do think he's got lots of potential, and I think when you see a Liverpool midfield with Szoboszlai and Wirtz, if they're both on song, and I think Wirtz is still some way off that yet, but if he does get there, wow, they'll be very entertaining to watch, I think.
Yeah, and able to score from range, as we saw from Szoboszlai's opener, Wirtz as well, Frimpong in between. Let's go to the Sun. Cop win as Cup serves up Mac and Bees. You can see Frimpong then scoring in Liverpool's win at home to Barnsley. But I want to focus on Macclesfield, Charlie, because you mentioned it had been such a brilliant weekend. Is this giving you Sutton United vibes? They've beaten Palace at home, now they've got Brentford at home, and they were the better side against the holders.
It was a brilliant game. I was lucky enough to be there, obviously enjoyed every minute of it. I don't think the 1,500 Palace fans who went particularly had a great time. But look, it's just fantastic, isn't it? Another home game against the Premier League team. And I think why people really love this story is when they hear the tales of the Macclesfield players. Some of them are sort of only play football, but half of them have got other jobs. And you've got Paul Dawson, the captain, celebrating getting Brentford in the next round. He'll be back at work packing candles tomorrow. You've got the defender who's going to be back at school, at the primary school in Altrincham. You've got the goalkeeper who tomorrow will be flogging second-hand cars. And, that is why, fans struggle to really identify with players now, don't they? Because they're all on £100,000 a week. But when they know that these players, playing against Crystal Palace, guys with normal jobs, that is why fans are really, really getting behind this Macclesfield story. And I'm sure that, pretty much all the country will be hoping for another shock up at Macclesfield.
Yeah, and it was towards the end of this fourth round draw that they found out their opposition. It is Keith Andrews' Brentford will be heading to the Moss Rose. John, do you sense there might be another upset on the cards? I mean, in your paper, Matt, get a buzz with Bees' draw. I mean, you never know. If they've beaten Palace, they've got a shout, haven't they?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Basically, they will now believe. Brentford, by the way, have been one of the best stories this season in the Premier League. Let's give them a bit of credit, actually, while we've got the opportunity to do. They're absolutely fantastic. So they'll go up there full of belief. They've been doing ever so well under Keith Andrews. But I do feel as if that they will just take so much belief. Come on, guys. Did any of us see Macclesfield beating the cup holders of all things, basically, on Saturday? Of course we didn't. But now they've done it, and now there's been so many great stories out of that, as Charlie rightly points to. I do think that they will take a belief and a confidence that, yeah, OK, we're fearless, we can do it again. And, that plastic pitch is probably on their side. And, there's all sorts of things. I think other clubs would want to be drawn away from home for the payday. But the point is that they're at home. And it's a great competition. And what I like about the FA Cup now is I know, the lack of replays feels unfair financially, but it means that everyone goes for it. Everyone thinks it's a one-off. It could happen. And that's why I think, another factor why this FA Cup weekend has been so memorable, so special. And I love the Cup, and it's rekindled my love for it once again.
Yes, that's the kind of answer I was here for, John Cross. Thank you. Go on, Charlie, really quickly if you can.
I'm just going to say the dressing room is absolutely tiny, the away one at Macclesfield. I had so much work to do. They switched off all the lights, and the only place I could finish my match report was in the Crystal Palace away dressing room. And it's tiny.
That's a picture. I love it. Right, let's get to some trust news really, really quickly. Got a couple of minutes left. In the Telegraph, Conor Gallagher appears to be coming back to English shores and back to the capital because seems to be preferring Tottenham Hotspur over Aston Villa. John, does this seem like an endorsement of Thomas Frank, who's under a lot of pressure at the moment, backing him with a significant transfer like this?
It is significant, isn't it? 34 million quid. And I do think that sounds like it, actually. I mean, Tottenham, behind the scenes, are really sort of saying, look, we want to give him every chance possible. The fans are obviously, really got doubts at the moment, not completely on board. But I really feel as if this is support for Frank. They're backing him in the market. Yes, they've lost a couple of players, obviously most notably Bentancur. But I think this is strong support. I love Conor Gallagher, by the way. Really like his attitude. I think he's so defiant. Chelsea trying to force him out. He wanted to pick his club and where to go. Spurs tried to actually get him a couple of years ago, but he's gone to Atletico Madrid. Listen, he's not started as many games as he would like, but he's played more than you think. And I think he'll come back here targeting the World Cup, and I also think that this could be a really good move for Spurs.
Going to do one last one to you, Charlie. In your paper on Lucas Paquetá, does not want to stay at West Ham, wants to back to... But it seems like a sorry end to a sorry story, doesn't it? About 40 seconds from you, if you can, Charlie.
Yeah, and sorry behaviour from the player. The player that's been backed by the club, backed by the fans through all his issues over his betting story. Look, he's wanted to leave West Ham ever since then. Poor behaviour. So West Ham may as well just get him over to Brazil and take the money.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there have been so many different elements to that story that have just been overall disappointing for a man who signed for a significant fee. And when he played and he was on form, he was sometimes unplayable. OK, guys, we're going to leave it there. John and Charlie, thank you very much indeed. If you've missed any of the show, another chance to see Back Pages tonight, 1:30. The show is also available as a podcast. Just download Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. Join us again Tuesday night. Our guest will be the Daily Mail's Ihsan Khan and also football writer Henry Winter. Well, Manchester United, as we've discussed on the show, are the gift that keeps on giving, and the focus is sharpening on this man, Michael Carrick, on the interim job as manager at Old Trafford. More to come.